All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Indelo Suna. I am the co-president of the Williamsville PTSA Council. On behalf of Council, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for moderating and sponsoring this event. I want to thank everyone who's here in attendance, and I want to thank the candidates. I know how much time and effort goes into preparing for something like this and how nerve-wracking it could be, and appreciate your willingness to volunteer on behalf of the students and families in Williamsville. With that said, I will hand it over to Lori, who will explain the ground rules for tonight.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm Lori Robinson with the League of Women Voters of Buffalo, Niagara. I'm delighted to be here again. This is my third year doing this, so keep going here. There are 3 open positions on the Williamsville School Board District, the School District Board this year for 3-year terms each. The tradition of holding a candidates forum for this election is a long-standing one for the League. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that encourages informed and active participation of citizens in government. The League works to influence public policy through education and advocacy. Moderating school board candidate meetings is only one of our many functions. Membership is open to everyone. To learn more about the League, visit our website at lwvbn.org. And I got some information over there on the table. So, ground rules for the candidate forum. Presentations should be strictly confined to issues, not personality. The order of opening statements has been determined by the candidate's draw for position this evening. The Williamsville schools are making the only authorized recording of this event, and this event is being recorded, and the link will be made available on the Williamsville School District website. Only licensed media, including TV, newspapers, and radios, are entitled to air a portion of the recording. And in keeping with the Federal Communications Commission's regulations, all others who air this recording may do so only in its entirety. No one is permitted to publicly display edited footage in any manner. We request that audience members turn off their cell phones at this time and keep them turned off throughout the event. We also request that you refrain from applause until the forum is completed. We seek to provide the candidates with the greatest amount of time in response to the questions. So the format for tonight's forum. Sarah Smith-Rowan is the timekeeper. She'll raise a yellow paddle when there are 30 seconds left and a red stop paddle when time has expired. The candidates are expected to stop when completing the sentence being spoken at that time. For opening statements, each candidate shall have 2 minutes for an opening statement, giving your platform, a little bit about yourself, and then the questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each questions. I will ask the questions submitted by members of the audience, and Claire is screening them for vulgarity, profanity, appropriateness, and redundancy. The questions must be directed to all candidates. There are some cards and pens available if you wish to write a question and bring them over to Claire. And we will be asking the candidates questions in rotating order. And the next candidate may answer as soon as the preceding candidate has finished in the time capacity. And I'll be happy to repeat any question when needed. Then we'll do closing statements. Each candidate shall be allowed 3 minutes for a closing statement to summarize thoughts or reiterate points brought forth during the meeting. This forum is designed to be a dialogue between the audience and candidates. It's not a debate. I will announce each candidate's name only for the opening statements, and I will introduce the candidates in reverse order for your concluding statements. So now let's begin with opening statements, and Julie Emerson is first.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Julie Emerson. I'm a mom to 2 kids in the district. I grew up Jewish and I married a Catholic man, so my children get to live in a diverse home. And we love to celebrate where we all come from and what makes us unique. I'm a champion of approaching the world with an open mind, and I believe that humans are not one size fits all, and education should be built accordingly. My platform: transparency, communication, listening, truly listening, receiving and valuing the feelings and opinions and ideas of the teachers and parents of the district, so that I can feel confident in having a pulse on the needs of the children. I believe that transparency is the foundation of any healthy relationship, as it enables trust and confidence, and I will be standing up for and practicing that. Communication, to me, is the facilitator of a healthy relationship. Being able to truly listen to people's concerns, receive what they're saying, and then be able to clearly and concisely articulate our own ideas and concerns and engage in open-minded conversation. Coming to decisions that benefit the masses. When we come in with any other agenda other than to listen and learn, we cannot effectively make unbiased decisions. Listening to the teachers and parents, to me, is truly the way to understand the needs of the district. As a child who struggled tremendously with school, teachers helped shape who I am. Teachers were hugely instrumental in the most positive parts of my childhood, and I value the people who are boots on the ground with our kids immensely. Partnering that with hearing the voices of the parents who know on a more personal and individual level what their children need, I believe this is the balance we need to truly be able to make meaningful and positive decisions and improvements for children of the district. I can't wait for the opportunity to get to know more of the crucial and critical needs of the district and make impactful decisions toward growth in our school community.
Mark Manna is next.
Thank you. My name is Mark Manna, and I am the stepfather to two Williamsville School graduates. In my first term on the Board of Education, I've worked to keep Williamsville as the finest school system in Western New York. I've worked to increase modified sports opportunities. We helped increase the property tax exemption for veterans, which slightly reduced the tax burden for those who have bravely served our country. I've delivered responsible budgets. When some districts are cutting teachers and programs, I've helped maintain the educational and extracurricular activities that students deserve. I've been successful in forming positive relationships with parents, students, teachers, and staff. That has helped me understand where the district is doing well and also where we can improve. In my next term, I'll work on examining students' use of electronic devices during the school day and creating a common sense solution so the students are not distracted during their school day. I pledge to keep improving our special education programming. Those students, parents, and teachers have waited long enough for real results. The district has embarked on a comprehensive plan to rectify some of our shortcomings with our special education community. I'll make sure we stay on track. I believe I'm a board member that can help continue the great work we have begun and make sure we keep rising to meet our challenges in the future. Thank you for your time.
Philip Danielson.
Hello, my name is Phil Danielson, and I ask you for your vote. I moved my family to the district back in July of 2011. My older daughter graduated here from North in 2022, and my younger daughter attends Casey Middle School. Thank you for those of you that voted for me last year. I enjoyed meeting many of you as I knocked on hundreds of doors through our community. I value hearing your concerns, morals taught in the school, boys competing in girls' sports, DEI. I think our community and the school board should have a conservative voice. While the Williamsville Teachers Association is well-moneyed, I don't think it's healthy that the entire board are WTA-supported members. I ask you for your vote again this year. I'd like to share about my experience at this event, Meet the Candidates, last year. I want to get to know you, the community, and I want to be able to get to know you to get to know me. Last year, I thought one way to allow that is to set up a book table from my home library. Authors like Charles Darwin, the Holy Bible, Ben Carson, David Goggins, and others. I came into the building, followed the arrow of the hall to the right, turned left, set up my table right outside the room here. Folks started coming by. Our superintendent, Dr. Brown Hall, came by. He was upset that I had a book table. Time passed, the hall had been pretty quiet, so I assumed not many of you had come out for the event. When I entered the room for the session, I was surprised to see a room quite full of people. It did not connect with me until later that probably the arrow directing people must have been moved to no longer point that way, but to bring in this side of the room. Who moved the sign? I don't know, but it wasn't a very inclusive thing to do at minimum. Words have meaning. I prefer they mean what they mean, not the opposite. Sometimes terms become politicized and meaning is skewed. I'm for diversity, freedom of speech of various perspectives. I am for equity, ensuring each have opportunity. I am for inclusion, caring for all people. I look forward to our engagement tonight in the coming session. Thank you.
Stuart Bullen?
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank both organizations for sponsoring this event. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Stuart Bullen. I'm seeking re-election to the Board of Education for trying to make a positive difference. I'm uniquely qualified as a teacher of 27 years, a special ed parent, and a Williamsville resident. I hope to help all students reach their potential. I want to make sure that all students and teachers can be successful in their classrooms. I'm especially committed to strengthening special education services in our district. While we've made progress, we have not yet reached the level of support, inclusion, and innovation that our students deserve. I want to help make Williamsville continue to grow as a leader in this area, not just for the sake of students with special needs, but for the benefit of our entire community. Thank you.
Thank you. And Christina Bleckinger.
Thank you.
Blacking.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you to Claire and Lori and Adele. And thank you, Sarah, for volunteering your time tonight and being here for us. My name is Christina Bleckinger, and I am running for re-election to the Williamsville Board of Education because I remain deeply passionate about our district's strategic vision and the academic, health and wellness, and needs of our students. During my time on the board, I have consistently supported our teachers, staff, and students by advocating for programs and policies that promote equity, inclusion, and long-term success. I strive to make thoughtful, data-informed decisions that reflect the diverse voices of our community. I believe strongly that feedback from students, staff, and families must not only be heard, but also acted upon. I will continue to support initiatives that foster equitable learning environments across all buildings and classrooms, ensuring every student has resources and the supports that they need. I'm a proud parent of a 7th grader at Mill Middle School, and I bring to the table 3 years of board experience, a professional background in technology and management, and years of volunteer service within our district. This includes work on the Wellness Committee, Green Ribbon School Committee, Policy Committee, and serving as a New York State School Boards Association delegate, advocacy liaison, and parliamentarian. These experiences have shaped me into a collaborative, engaged board member, committed to continual positive change. Thank you for your time. I look forward to answering your questions tonight and hope to earn your confidence in me as your board member. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. We'll start with our first question, and we'll start with Julie again. So, what is an issue you would like to see addressed as a board member if you are elected?
One of the first things that comes to mind is more culture for the students. I've found that my younger one who goes to Country Parkway doesn't have a whole lot of opportunity to go out and see the world. Growing up in Philadelphia and outside of Philadelphia and South Jersey, I got to go in and see Philadelphia, and Buffalo to me is very similar to that, such a rich city and culture. And I'd love to see us, kind of reach more culture for our kids. That would be something wonderful.
Okay, Mark?
Well, I'd like to just to continue on some of the work we've started. And I'll talk about special education. And I ran for the board 2 years ago. It was a lot of parents and students and teachers were frustrated on how the district was really providing that service. So, we partnered with outside groups, and they studied and broke down how we were providing special education services, and they came up with a list of recommendations, and we're following those recommendations. And not only that, following it, but spending the money to do it. I think we're probably $500,000 this year increase in providing just those services. So, I think if there's one thing, there's a lot of things, but I think that has the most immediate impact, especially for parents. There's a short window where your student is in school and we can provide these services. We have to provide the highest quality services we can for these students and their parents. And I want to continue to work on that. So that's one thing I want to continue to do or see done, is to finish that process.
Okay, Philip?
Yeah, no, I think when we moved to the Buffalo area 14 years ago, hard to believe, but one of our main criteria was coming and looking for one of the top school districts in the area. We looked at Clarence, we looked at East Aurora, we looked here in Williamsville. And I'm so thankful that we landed here in Williamsville. I think the academics have been excellent for my daughter that graduated, equipping her very, very well for university and studying there. Even now, she'll even talk about being in her junior year, still referring back to, for example, some of the English teachers who instilled in her a way to structure sentences, a way to write that she leverages to this day. And so I want to continue that, to have that level of academics and to have master teachers who will know their material and then be able to turn light bulbs on in the eyes of the students in the classroom. Unfortunately, even over dinner tonight, talking with my daughter who just came home from college, we were reflecting on one of her science teachers that when someone was in the room evaluating that teacher, they were spot on. The rest of the time, not so good. And so those are the types of things where I would hope that every Williamsville teacher acts like they have somebody who's overseeing them in the room every single day, lighting the fire of the students to bring out the best in them, to bring that material to their heart and stick it into their mind and soul. So I'd like to continue that academic excellence.
Thank you. Stuart?
I would like to echo what Mark said. I think that we have started along the path of continuing improving special education. I think the goal has to be to offer a full continuum of special education services to our students. I think we've made steps, but we need to continue to do that. The second thing I think is we have to start thinking about AI. AI is going to be an issue that is exploding and is going to change education at its very core. And I know that we have committees that are looking into it, but we need to get, instead of just ankle deep, we need to get knee deep into it and figure out how it will affect student outcomes and how teachers teach. I think those are probably the two biggest things that we need to keep in mind as we move forward.
I also echo Mark and Stu's sentiments on special education. I'm very excited and hopeful of the progress that we've made. I know we have more work to do, but that's something I'm very passionate about. But what I really want to talk about is what a very special part of being the board to me is when we have our community forums and our staff forums and our ability for our students to have their voices heard. And I feel as though we can improve our communication and make sure that every stakeholder feels confident that their voice is heard. And that not only do we listen, but we also build a culture where trust and action on their concerns go hand in hand. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, we're ready for question number 2. This time we'll start with Mark. So, if elected, how will you support existing diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, or how will you work to limit or repeal them? Specifically, will you support including diverse voices in the curriculum?
Thank you for that question. Usually when I talk about DEI in the community, and I usually ask, what do you think DEI means? And usually I get an answer that has nothing to do with what the district's DEI policy or program is. So let me read you a little something from our district policy. Every student should be able to come to school each day and participate fully as their full self. Not only should our students feel a sense of belonging, but every employee should feel that sense too. Who could be against that? If you eliminated the letters DEI from the English language, I would still be somebody who believes that this district should hire people that look like the students they're teaching, have the beliefs that the students they're teaching. You have to reflect the community. Anybody here who works in a job who had to go to work and be picked on because of the way they look or the way they acted or because what their religion is or their sexual preference, they would not be able to perform their job at school. As a district where we're creating young minds who are going to lead our future, we have to provide them with the safest educational atmosphere possible. So I will be someone who I don't care, like I said, if DEI is eliminated from the English language, I'm still going to be somebody who has those beliefs.
Yeah, no, I think DEI, and even in my 90-second video, I'll refer back to that a little bit, right? Because I am for diversity, absolutely. The United States is an amazing melting pot of people from all over the world. And I have friends from whether China or Russia or Brazil or Congo, friends from all over. And it's amazing, right? To learn from each other's culture, to learn from each other's traditions, to eat different food. I remember my first round with kimchi. Anybody had kimchi, Korean, right? It'll light you up. And I remember, my Korean friend is asking, so would you like some hot tea with that? I'm like, no, I'd like an ice cold Mountain Dew. Thank you very much. And so certainly to be experiencing and exposed that kind of diversity makes the United States special. It's amazing for us to come together. Equity, I'm definitely for all having equal opportunity. And even as we think about the public school system that we have here in the United States, to think that every child come in the door an opportunity to learn. And does that guarantee equal outcomes? It doesn't. God has given us differing talents. Some people are made to be rocket scientists. Some people are made to be entrepreneurs. God has wired us differently. But I encourage every student to show up every day, study diligently, and become all they can be. And then for inclusion, I care for all people. And even in my video, I commented about how Jesus said it best: love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it: love your neighbor as yourself. And I think if we really instill that, to care for each other as we would care for ourselves, doesn't matter what color our skin is or any other attributes, we're going to care. We're going to care. And actually, so I think diversity, equity, inclusion is important.
As a history teacher, DEI is not a boogeyman. It's a good thing. It's good teaching. It's getting your students to hear as many voices as you can, so they can learn as much as they can. When they get to the next level, either whether it's a job, whether it's the military, whether it's a trade school, they're going to be sitting next to someone who's different than them. And what better place to learn about different cultures and perspectives than school? And it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And the more we have it, the better. And if our goal is to prepare critical thinking students who are citizens of the world. And if we don't do that, we're failing our students. And one of the best ways is to let them hear as many voices as we can, so they can become critical thinkers and get a better understanding of the world they live in and the people they're going to be interacting with for the rest of their lives.
I firmly believe that every student should come to our district, come to their school, feeling safe and supported and valued. I don't think DEI is just a political buzzword. We bring it into our community, our school community. We ensure that all students have equitable access when they walk into the building. So I support maintaining these DEI initiatives that foster inclusive environments, promote cultural understanding, and address disparities in our schools. It's really about preparing our students to be in a diverse world.
Julie?
When we moved here and I found out that Country Parkway at the time had 36 different languages spoken at it. And I remember I took a tour with Mrs. Skinner to get to know the school vice principal there. And I just was elated. I was so grateful that my kids were going to get to experience diversity. And I think that, I believe in human first in everything, and treating people the same, and treating humans and individuals differently, and getting to know what individuals need. You cannot treat things as one size fits all. So I think DEI is an important tool to get to know what each student needs and be able to provide what each student needs equally, but differently. They need different, and inclusion, that's a non-negotiable. My husband actually made a buddy bench for the school in our garage for my daughter's elementary school before we moved here, from in Arizona. And it's something that's just near and dear to our heart, that again, just on a human level. Humans come first. What's inside of us, and so I think DEI is important.
All right, ready for question number 3. Philip, you're going to start this time. So, how will you ensure that funds donated to the PTA and other booster clubs are used appropriately? What should the board's role be regarding third-party audits and enforcement?
Boy, you know, that's a subject, I'll say outside of my realm, as far as monies going to PTSA. I'll say that I am appreciative of the PTSA. I think of even some of our first years that we were here in the area. There was a fundraiser to put in a new playground at Dodge Elementary, and to be able to come out with the community and put it in. And even just within the last week, I was saying, I'm still kind of ticked at myself that we had 3 contractors who were there, and they were like, hey, who wants to drive the Bobcat? And I'm still kind of bummed that like I didn't take them up on the opportunity. One of the other guys stepped up first. But yeah, absolutely. Accountability of funds is important. And so if it's given to the PTSA, I'm trusting that the PTSA has appropriate governance to make sure that, you know, and even looking down the aisleway here at Essel, you know, of like being a part of that leadership of the PTSA, right? To watch the dollars and cents, to have integrity, to make sure that the money that comes in goes out as it should. And I'm personally never heard of misuse of PTSA money, but there probably are. Thank you.
I think it's really important to understand that the PTSA is outside of the control of the district. The district does not control that. It's not underneath our umbrella. The PTSA does have their own rules and regulations about how money is handled and how it works. And of course, if money is inappropriately used, there should be auditing there should be audits and things of that nature. But again, it's not under the auspices of the district or the board. The PTSA is its own agency and has its own rules. So we can't control it. We do act as a liaison to these committees, but we are not in control of them.
I would echo that sentiment. And as Stu stated, it is not our board role to oversee the PTSA. However, given the certain circumstances, I would support as a parent the hiring and bringing on an additional auditor if need be to make sure all funds are appropriated correctly.
Julie,
Can you please repeat the question? Sure.
how will you ensure that funds donated to the PTA and other booster clubs are used appropriately? What should the board's role be regarding third-party audits and enforcement?
I think that goes back to an important issue to me, transparency. I think that should be a very basic part of anything having to do with children and money and accountability, you know, and I think that my goal would be to support the PTSA and encourage, if needed, to have, you know, third-party audits and, you know, as needed, but my goal would just be to support and not necessarily tell the PTSA what they need to do. And as a parent, a board member, you know, being involved as much as possible and helping. It's the parent teacher student association. So, you know, being as helpful and supportive as I can to the PTSA.
Thank you. As was mentioned earlier, the board has no statutory authority over any of the PTSA, even though they named Williamsville and its parents and students and teachers who live in the district and go to the schools. We have no authority. You know, it was a little disconcerting when the article hit the paper. The online version had the headline, and then there was a photograph of said Williamsville Board of Education accompanying the article of the malfeasance. But you know, we do have the bully pulpit as board members, and we can certainly let the PTSA remind them, you know, that they have the fiduciary responsibility to, have these funds be held in the highest regard. It's hard to raise money, and it's even harder when there's some issues regarding embezzlement. But I have to say, it's important to make sure that the money stays where it belongs. But how the PTSA board acted to this was fantastic. At the end of the day, you want the problem corrected. You want the money returned. And that's what the leadership did. It's sad that it happened. It's unfortunate that it happened, but I really commend the leadership for following a path of getting the money back. And that's my answer.
Thank you. Okay, question number 4. Stuart, you start with this one. How do you think the district should implement the state mandated cell phone ban?
That's a great question. We have not yet seen what the state mandate cell phone ban is. The budget has not yet passed. I think that, from my understanding, is that districts will have a leeway to do it tailored to their district, but I can't comment on something that I don't know what it is yet. That's foolhardy in my opinion. Until we know exactly what it says, I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that question. I just think that we should follow the law, I guess, is the best answer.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. It says, how do you think the district should implement the state mandated cell phone ban?
I think the intent behind this ban is to really minimize distractions and enhance student engagement. And I'm all for that. So I support the efforts to create a focused learning environment. I know we have a committee right now that is going to propose their solution to us, I believe, in August or maybe July. But so I think we have to implement their suggestion thoughtfully. We have to consider expectations for students who rely on their devices for medical reasons or for language translation. We need to collaborate with educators and students and families to develop the guidelines that are effective and equitable. And I feel confident that our committee will be doing that.
Julie?
I think I'm pretty sure without a doubt that most, if not all, parents agree that we do not want our children on their phones or distracted in any way other than curriculum, in their school day. But I'm a big middle ground kind of person. While I absolutely do not want my children or any of the children on their phones and have access to, at their desk, be on their phone. I think there's got to be a middle ground solution that, I've seen some districts. I have a sister-in-law in New Jersey. They have the pouches. She's a teacher in New Jersey, and she said it's going very well. And that to me sounds like it could be a great solution where the parents can feel safe that the kids have their phone if needed, but that it's there and they are not allowed to open it. And, so maybe that could be, but I'm really looking forward to hearing all of the solutions and us making an educated and informed decision. But I think clearly that's an issue that needs to be addressed. And I'm grateful that it will be, and our kids can focus more on curriculum.
Thank you. Usually this conversation goes something like this. I hear from a parent and they tell me that, you have to do something about banning electronic devices. You have to ban cell phones. It's too much of a distraction. My child can't learn. Someone next to him is always on the phone. You have to ban cell phones in school, except for my kid. My kid's going to have his phone. So fortunately, the governor came out with this blanket proposal to ban electronic devices during the school day. And the district hosted a public event, a speaker panel on this, and I was fortunate enough to ask to be on that panel. And it had police on the panel, principals from other schools who had already done their electronics ban, experts in child's mental health, and all of them were 100% in favor for various reasons of banning the electronic devices, especially the police. We had 2 West Seneca police officers on that panel, and they talked about how it can cause too much misinformation if if the police department's getting 200 calls with 200 different scenarios, it's hard for them to focus on 200. They're trying to get to what is the issue or what isn't the issue. So, you know, the district has a lot of work to do on this. And really, I think what the problem is going to be, as far as I'm concerned, is what do we do with the constant offenders then? Are we suspending them? You know, are we making them miss school because they use their cell phone? We have to have some kind of progressive discipline for students so they know that it's really for the best for them and best for their co-students. Thank you.
Yeah, cell phones are a thing, aren't they? I've got a 13-year-old at home, and good golly, trying to take that phone away. So, I mean, you know, I could see significant benefit of come to school, check it at the door. My wife and I talk about that periodically too, of even at home, of, okay, you had it for the afternoon, check it in. You don't have it this evening, because we want you reading books. We want you outside. We want you doing things. I'll admit too that sometimes a state mandate, I am a fan of local control. I think there's a lot of benefit of districts to be able to know ourselves. And, you know, New York State and most states do exercise their control. Should a mandate like this be coming from the state level? Not sure I'm fully supportive that Governor Kathy Hochul should be making that decision. But I think it is certainly a topic that's important for all of us, for our families, for the wellness of our kids. I keep reading articles about just the brain fry, right, of scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And I know for myself that our daughter is not active on her phone at school, so it's not a personal problem for us, but I certainly can empathize with families where the kid is on their phone in class, being a distraction. And so need to work to solve that. Thank you.
Okay, we're at question number 5. Christina, gonna start. Being a board member leads to increased scrutiny. How are you prepared to deal with that scrutiny? And if you are an incumbent, how do you deal with it now?
Well, it is very common to get a text message or a phone call or discussion in the grocery store, and I actually welcome that. As I mentioned before, you know, one of the issues I'd love to address is communication and making sure that we address our community and students and teachers' opinions and issues that they're having. So I say bring it on. And if I can't get an answer for you, I will find an answer for you, and we will work to see if it's something that the board and superintendent can address.
Julie?
Well, I know that one of my strengths is being a really, really good, open-minded, middle ground kind of person, but you can't please everyone in every situation. It's just not possible. It's not going to happen. But, you know, I think just being able to understand that it's not personal and that people are allowed to have their feelings. And, you know, but for the most part, I think as long as I'm listening and learning and to me, listening to the teachers of the district, listening to the parents of the district and hearing what the needs are of the children and making unbiased decisions based on what I'm hearing from the teachers and the parents, I think that, you know, I can't really go wrong. But, you know, although some people may feel that way, but I know that I'll be doing the best I can. And just in life, you can't please everyone. So, and that's okay.
Thank you. Listen, when you're an elected official, you know, it's not for the faint of heart, you know. So personally, I draw on my life experiences. You know, I am a union contract negotiator. I served 8 years on the Amherst Town Council. I was a certified baseball umpire. Being booed and being yelled at is something I've dealt with. But I think that if, you know, so I welcome the scrutiny, and it's expected. You sign up for that when you run for public office. But I have found that if you're honest with people, you listen to their concerns, you give them an honest answer based on the research you've done, and you're not giving them an answer based on any bias, you know, people may not like it, but I think they understand it. And so I think that's how you deal with the scrutiny, is just being honest with people. Thank you.
I think leadership has its responsibilities. I am huge on accountability. Working in the business world, you assign work to somebody, they commit to doing it. You need to make sure that they do. If, as a board member, I commit to do something, you have every right to come and say, why haven't you done it? Or when will you do it? And if I make a commitment of a date that's within my power, within the board, by golly, let's work to meet it. I think we need to be above reproach. And so certainly that scrutiny involves how I manage myself in the grocery store or at the ball field. And I think that's true for any of the board members, that we do need to hold ourselves to a higher standard than maybe the guy next door or down the street, because we have the reputation of the Williamsville School District. We are helping to carry that, helping to preserve that. I think that's important. And I do also just think it's really important for civil discourse. There will be disagreements. There will be differing opinions, but there's so much value in being able to listen and respond and allow them to listen and them respond, and to be able to work through sometimes misunderstandings where somebody perceives perhaps that one of the board has done something they shouldn't. And it needs to be innocent until proven guilty. Thank you.
Say that my daughters and I shopping experience at Wegmans has changed in the last 3 years. I do not mind at all. As a matter of fact, I think it's really helpful when parents, constituents come up and ask me questions and talk to me, because that's how you learn about issues that are facing the community that you may not get. We're somewhat far attenuated from the schools. This way, it gives us, we get to hear parent concerns, student concerns, and every so often, believe it or not, people come up and say, thank you, you're doing a good job. And the district is doing this well. It's part of the job, and it hasn't changed my life. And it's not like people are going through my garbage, I don't think. Maybe someone is, but I don't think so. This is but how you learn about what's going on in the district. And I have no problem with it. And it's also one way that you get student voice that you may not get, because students come up to me all the time. I go to different events, and I think that's great. That's how you learn about the district.
All right, we're at question number 6. Back to Julie. So as we saw with I did that right, didn't I? Okay. As we saw with the school start time proposal, the outcomes of committees often do not reflect the feelings of our overall committee. Do you feel the current system to create these committees is the best way to generate committees, or can you suggest an alternate method to get more diverse community opinions?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I do think that there is a need for more communication, more transparency, more conversations, bringing in more voices. I specifically with the school start times, I was disappointed with that situation, and I was vocal about it. And what I was vocal about was transparency. What I was disappointed in was the lack of transparency and communication, and listening to the voices of the teachers. I heard from so many teachers during that time that they weren't even considered. And that honestly was really, it was upsetting and disappointing, because that's who I really honor, their opinions. They're, like I said, the boots on the ground people, and the parents. I think that we deserve a voice as well. So I think that the committees either need to be bigger. I think maybe they need to be vetted more. I think there does need to be some care and concern that needs to be put into more of a plan for that, a better situation for that.
Can I ask, is your question directed at the school start time committee process, or just committees in general?
It says, do you feel the current system to create these committees is the best way to generate, or can you suggest an alternative method to get more diverse community opinion?
So without addressing just that school start time committee, I think we try to approach all these committees for these big changes, these big issues, kind of the same. We always have teachers on these committees. There's always administrators on the committee, the superintendent or representatives from the superintendent. There's sometimes students on the committees. We have parents on the committees. We try to form some consensus from that group or come with some direction. For a lot of these issues, but the school start time, we had a 30-day open public comment period to gather the comments from the community, and believe me, they made comments. We could always do better, but I at some point, we task these committees to bring the board some direction, to give us their recommendation, and it's just a recommendation. And I've been satisfied that we've had a diverse group on these committees. You can't have 500 people on them. You have to have a selection from every stakeholder group. We could always do better, but I think that, our template is parents, teachers, administration, students, other stakeholders as needed, a public comment period either on our website or when we have public hearings on the issue at the board meetings, emails. So I think that we're doing everything reasonable to get the public's input on some of these big decisions to bring to the board as a recommendation, then we vote on. So we're an educational institution. We're supposed to be studying these things and then having the board vote on them. Thank you.
Yeah, boards and committees and boards. My team at work loves me because I make them go to meetings. I think that when you do that, you do need to listen. I personally appreciate of even with the school start time to have that opportunity to respond, and I did sent in my thoughts. I was one of those many that sent in some of those different thoughts on it. And even just thinking about the committees too of, whether in business or the workplace, a topic is bubbling up. Like, for example, you mentioned AI earlier, right? We ought to be sending people to seminars. And I think there were people from even the committee that were sent to a seminar, right, with experts to address how that could work. And personally, I was not at all surprised that folks came back from that conference and were promoting some changes, because that's almost the expected get the bang for your buck out of the conference. I went to a conference, I got some more information, I'm going to bring it back, let's try to implement it. And I think there is then that balance of you're convinced because you went, but then can we stay listening to the public, listening to the parents, listening to the constituents on the committees. I think committees are really good, though, to be able to get that, whether parent or teacher, administrator, or community person to contribute. And at the end, you need to listen and then vote on it. And personally, I'm glad we're sticking with the times we are.
So our school committee system is not perfect, but remember, it is volunteer. You can't force people to join a committee. I mean, I can ask you to, I can give you the opportunity, we can send out surveys, but in the end, people have to volunteer. Remember, like Mark said, they are stakeholders from everywhere. We had teachers, students, parents, community members. All those people are welcome to join those committees. I'm on a bunch of committees, and the bigger they get, the more unruly they get. Like I agree, you can't have 600 people on a committee simply because it just won't function well. I think the important thing is that you have the committee so that everyone's viewpoint can be heard, and then again, it's brought to the board, and the board has to make their decisions.
Again, community voice, staff voice, student voice, very important to me, and I know to our board. I know that there were concerns addressed at one of our forums concerning that their feedback was not heard. So I think we need to look at that and see, what's really behind that, what that means. Some things we could do are to include staff advisory panels or surveys that go out to obtain regular feedback with building leadership. The surveys could also be built in with accountability for follow-up. And most importantly, creating a culture where staff and community feedback is valued, expected, and acted upon.
I think that everybody answered that question. It's getting confusing now. We're on that next row. So let's, question number 7. Mark, we're going to start with you. How do you plan to address bullying, especially in our increasingly polarized society?
Well, you know, I think that the DEI initiatives that we have play a big part of that. You know, making every student feel welcome and feel included and feel worthy of you know, being allowed to be their true self. You know, we have state mandates that we have to abide by as far as bullying. I know that it's not tolerated, and when a student feels bullied, they are encouraged to go to their principal or the vice principal and have it addressed. And when the board is made aware of that, we make sure that there's follow through with that principal or vice principal and that parent to let them know how it's addressed. So to stop bullying, I mean, you know, I got out of school many years ago and there was bullying then, there'll be bullying now, and 20 years ago, there'll probably still be bullying. I think as leaders in the district, you try and minimize it. You'd love to stop it, but you want to minimize it. And when it's brought to our attention, our duty is to make sure that it's addressed, make sure that it's stopped. So the student who is bullied, again, feels like they can come to school and be their best self and have the best educational experience possible. Thank you.
Yeah, bullying is no fun. And I would encourage every one of the teachers in the district, every one of the people that work in our schools to be open ears. If a student comes to you and expresses that they have been bullied, that you will listen, that you will offer sound advice, that you will raise it to the school administration as appropriate, and that the parents are aware as well. It's tough. We're in a competitive world for sure. Everybody's home life is different. The ways that you cope with things are different. And even one of the phrases I've heard over the years, right? Hurt people hurt people. And so for us as parents, for teachers, right, to realize both sides of that situation. Maybe the person that's getting picked on shouldn't be getting picked on, but maybe that person that's doing the bullying maybe needs a batch of cookies. I mean, I've heard of that, you know, even in the neighborhood, right? You have a problem with a neighbor and they're the one that's your problem. Bake them a batch of cookies. See if that your initiative to be kind, your initiative to reach out can help heal the situation. But again, bullying can't be tolerated. We need listening ears. We need to make sure that parents quickly get into the loop along with administrators to protect our children. Thanks.
Bullying is an issue. It's been an issue since I was a kid and will continue to be. The thing that's really changed is it's gone from person to person to digital. And that is where the district is stepping up. I know from personal experience, we had an issue that my son was bullied a little digitally, and we reported it to the district, and the district acted strongly and quickly. And that's really the job of the district. If as soon as it's brought to the attention of the district, it should be taken care of by the district quickly and in the best way possible. And again, it's just changing because now instead of me saying it face to face, now people become keyboard warriors. And that's harder to track. And I will tell you from personal experience as a school teacher, most of the bullying happens on Facebook and social media things. And that is difficult to track, but I think the district is doing a pretty decent job of that, and we need to get better at it, just like anything else, because it's morphing. But it's the job of the district to try to stop it as soon as it comes to their attention.
Bullying is something our district takes very seriously. It is part of our code of conduct that we have. It's listed in here that we will not tolerate bullying. I was part of our wellness committee this year and last year, and both years we went through thoroughly our code of conduct and made edits and updates. And specifically to our restorative practices, which I think is something wonderful that many school districts are doing, including ours. We've implemented these into our elementary, middle, and high schools. And it's really a powerful approach that helps students, takes responsibility for their actions. I feel that sometimes when someone bullies, they may be having some difficulty at home or somewhere else, and they may be getting bullied. So to talk about it, I think is very helpful. And we're incorporating this more and more in our district, which is a beautiful thing. So we're not all solely focusing on punishment. We're promoting accountability and empathy and stronger relationships between students and staff. And when this is done well, they contribute to a more positive school climate and they reduce repeat behavior. So I think in our numbers of discipline and actions that are negative, and not just bullying, but other actions, we have seen a decrease in this because of these restorative practices. So I think we're doing a great job on that.
I don't want to forget Julie over there.
I do not accept kids will be kids. I do not accept that bullying happens. And fortunately, what I've found and what I've overwhelmingly heard in this district is that elementary schools are very, I think, excellent in that. And unfortunately, it makes sense that things get harder as the kids get older. But I do not feel that there is enough communication. I don't feel that the parents are being allowed in enough to help. And I think that most of us, probably the vast majority, are willing and want to help. And we're seeing it. And it's a helpless feeling when you are not told and you're not made aware and you can't fully parent and do the things at home that you're supposed to do. And I think, again, transparency, communication, they're just so huge to me. And I think that is a major area in this district and probably in any district, that when it comes to bullying, there's always more that we can do. And I do not accept that it's just going to happen. I think that we need to fight harder. I think that there are always kids that need more and just attention, and communication to them and love and acceptance and from home, from others in school. And I think facilitating also conversations, healthy conversations between kids in school and teaching that, we can talk this out and we can say words that, might seem emotional but they're healthy and they get us to the end goal. And I can't wait for the opportunity to try and facilitate more solutions with bullying in the district.
Okay. All right. Question number 8. Philip, we'll start with you this time. Should our schools offer additional Life 101 classes? And do you believe the existing classes should be mandatory for graduation?
Life 101, that's how it's worded?
Life 101.
Okay. All right. So let's see where we can take that. So Summit Life, for example, even, back when I went to school, it was like home economics. It's important and maybe even I'll just talk about that, right? So even this year in, what do they call it now? It's not home economics. It's
Home and careers.
Home and careers, family and careers. That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. So my 7th grader has been going through some of that. And, I'll even just say that home ec, right? Like teach people to cook, teach them to do a balanced meal. Our world is full of junk food. You walk up and down the aisles at the grocery store, and probably most of it we shouldn't go home with, maybe. But it's so Choco Pebbles. Why can't you go home with Fruity Pebbles? But you'd probably do better being in the vegetable and fruit aisle. And so even some of my thoughts of personally always working on trying to redial my taste buds back to less sugar intake, and so kind of from a Life 101. Economics is probably another piece. on that front. And even, I could even advocate that by the time anybody graduates from high school, they should have had an economics class, how to manage your money. There's so much debt out there right now. People need to realize you take out a loan, you got to pay it back. That's the way it works. Thank you.
I think that's a great idea, but the curriculum is so full already. I think that, think about it. When I'm 55, we had to balance a checkbook. Who actually balances a checkbook anymore? Okay, you do. But my point is that there's certain skills that they should have. Financial management, I agree. How to write a check even. Those things are important. Cooking, yes. I think that life lessons are important. I taught seniors for a while and I did economics. I could not believe how many of them didn't know what a credit card was and how it worked. Just that's an important skill, knowing that what life insurance is. So I think that can be worked into existing curriculums like economics. And I know that the district has some pretty far-reaching financial planning services inside the classes. And I think we need to continue to do that because the life skills that we are talking about are morphing and changing as we speak. So yeah, I think that's a really good idea. I just don't know if we can add classes to our already full curriculum need for graduation.
I love your sentiments. I agree with that. I think the curriculum is pretty full, and I think there's things that have been, pushed out also because of technology, like spelling tests and spelling in general. I think that there's autocorrect, which helps us with our spelling and grammar, and that's AI generated. And writing in cursive, I think, is a lost art that's no longer taught like it used to be, typing. So a lot of things are being replaced, but I would like to see these life strategies incorporated into our curriculums somehow through various subjects. I think that's a great idea.
Julie?
What I would like to see to help facilitate more for children to be more prepared to go out and face the world. I mean, you turn 18 and all of a sudden you're an adult and you're ready to face the world. I would love to see more mental health education, teaching emotional maturity. I think that is extremely lacking in education. And I think that there is a legitimate way that it could be added in. And I think it should be, and I would love to help facilitate ways to do that, because I think that, we can teach them math and we can teach them science, but I think that mental health is a place that we are struggling in society. And I wish that at myself as a 17-year-old about to graduate and go out and face the big world, that I had more education in that way. And yes, a lot of it comes from home and it should, but I also think that there's a way for it to also be added into curriculum where we teach words, we teach communication, healthy ways to express ourselves. I think we're really lacking that. And I think so much can be solved through healthy communication and understanding words that can really help get you through hard times and hard situations. And I look forward to the opportunity to have more conversations about that.
Thank you. As was stated earlier, the school day is pretty packed. You have a lot of state mandates as far as what needs to be taught. There's also the capacity. We have the teachers, we have the space to teach these life skills 101. But we're always trying to increase opportunities at BOCES and at Harkness for students who feel a career path might be in the building trades or something other than what's taught traditionally at school. And the district also has this Williamsville Community Education Program, and everybody gets sent a little booklet to their house, and you can go on the school website, and there's a variety of different courses that adults can take, students can take, that are outside of the reading, writing, and arithmetic that you'd get during the school day. So it comes down to capacity to do it. And other opportunities we have outside the school day. I don't think we're ever going to have the teachers and the space and the budget to teach all of these life, 101 skills. Thank you.
Great. We're at question number 9. Stuart. How can you, as a board member, protect and serve all community members, even if they do not share your political or religious beliefs?
I'm not sure what you mean by protect. Are you asking me just how to serve people with diverse
And
views?
protect and serve all community members.
Well, I think that's just part of being inclusive, that our job is to provide, our job as a school system is to provide a safe, caring environment for everyone who attends and who works here. And that school is where you meet people with diverse backgrounds and beliefs and how you learn to communicate with them and learn about them. I'm not sure, I'm thrown by the word protect. I think that it's not protecting so much as integrating differences into the school community. And I think it's important that we do that everyone gets to share who they are and that it's a safe place to do that. And again, in the end, it's about creating an atmosphere where everyone can learn and feel safe and share themselves, no matter what their political or religious views are.
For those issues that are brought to our attention or me individually, I have to set aside, my personal opinion and know that as a board member, we act as a board together. So again, with the community concerns, students and teachers, we listen to their voice, don't necessarily share our opinions with them, but try to support what they're feeling. We're here to make sure that our district thrives, and that includes student success and teacher success, and we address the community concerns also. So yeah, I just think acting as the board united is helpful in that manner.
Really?
Can you please repeat the question?
How can you, as a board member, protect and serve all community members, even if they do not share your political or religious beliefs?
Thank you. I think that comes back to coming into any situation in an unbiased way. I don't believe that any bias belongs, especially when it comes to decision making with children. Our own opinions and beliefs, while they're very valuable, I don't think that serves, trying to please everyone who has different beliefs. I think that takes away from what the ultimate goal is, which is learning what's best for the children and giving what's best for the children, making decisions for what's best for the children. So I hope that we can put our political beliefs or any differences, except for differences that are important, that we can celebrate and uplift. Let's do that as much as possible. Let's do that more. But when it comes to decision making for the children, I hope and I look forward to the opportunity to focus on what's best for the children and leave any bias out of that.
Thank you. I think, a public official has to, draw upon their life experience when you discuss these issues. And for me, I was in the Buffalo 514 Survivors Fund. It provided direct financial assistance to the survivors of the deceased for those directly affected by the mass shooting at a Tops store several years ago. I'm a member of the Good Government Club of Western New York. I served on the board of directors for many years for the Coalition for Economic Justice. So you have to have that background in dealing with different groups in order to really appreciate and understand it and really to protect them. I'm fine with the word protect their rights, because, them trampling on their rights means trampling on my rights. And I think I also have to believe, like I do, Williamsville is a very diverse community, ethnically, religiously, culturally. And if you believe that the public education should unite us and not divide us, that's the best way to protect and to answer your question. If you have the background in your life experience doing it, and you have the current belief that we should be united in public education, I think that goes a long way towards protecting the people that you mentioned in your question. And I know the question, lacks the context because it's probably submitted online or something, but I'm trying to answer it the best given the context that was given. Thank you.
Philip?
Yeah, protecting and serving are important. Typically, when protection comes up, there's been a situation where somebody wasn't protected. And even as Christina was mentioning earlier about some of the policies, codes of conduct that are in place, certainly the district can't have a policy on everything. It's intended to be a broad framework, a structure that we can stand on to attempt as best we're able to protect and serve everyone in the community. And so I think that's important. Certainly if a situation came up where someone felt like they weren't protected, it's good for maybe forming a committee to study how do we prevent a situation like that from arising again. Do we need to modify a policy? Do we need to modify something? And I think that's what part of the board's responsibility is, to understand those situations and then be able to structure and implement and encourage and work with the administration of the district to be able to keep our students safe and keep them, as we serve them. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay, how about question number 10? I think this will be our last question, and then we'll go to closing. So, question number 10. For incumbents, what have you done this year to check that the budget increases were fair? And for new candidates, what would you do to check that the budget increases were fair? This time we start with Christina.
I think our Superintendent of Finance, Mike Kelly, does an outstanding job in explaining the various increases. We just had our budget meeting before this. So, a large part of our increases were obviously teacher salaries. We had a reduction also in various items in healthcare and insurance. But I think that there's explanation that he provides if we have questions. We don't always know the ins and outs of everything, but I think that he's always available and willing to respond to our concerns.
Julie?
As someone who does not know the budget, I've not served on the board, but I'm pretty sure I can confidently say that I know that we still have teachers, unfortunately, that have to pay so much out of pocket. And I can't imagine, they serve our children all day long and they pour their hearts, they dedicate their lives to our children, and having to pay for supplies and student enrichments out of their own pockets. And I think that we absolutely need more in the budget for the classroom and more in the budget for the teachers. One of my worries is that if we don't treat these teachers well, that they will leave. And the teachers are what make this district so wonderful. So I think we really need to take a hard look there and work harder at making sure that there is enough in the budget to increase teacher salaries and supply. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. So, next Tuesday, May 20th, the voters will vote on the budget. And, on the 21st, the day after, we start working on the next budget. So it's something you do every day, every week. You work on projections, how much money we're going to bring in, what their expenditures are going to be, where can we bend the curve. You can't cut costs. I'm not going to tell you we can cut costs, but you're trying to slow that curve or bend that curve on certain expenses. We have a lot of mandates that we have to abide by, which take up a big chunk of the budget. And listen, we try to pay our employees, the best wages that we can. Most of them, if not all of them, are represented by collective bargaining agreements. And I can tell you that if there's a teacher vacancy, there'll be 10 applications for that job. I think the district pays well. It's a great place to work. The budget is in constant work. We were so dependent on things that we can't control: state money, federal money, the sales taxes. So we do our best to project what our income will be, try to project what our expenses will be. And I think every year, including this year, we've come up with a budget that maintains everything this district provides with no cuts and still stays under the tax cap. So that there is an achievement. And when some districts, like I mentioned earlier, are cutting programs, laying off teachers, making kids walk to school further, this district's done none of that. And that's a testament to Mr. Kelly, of course, and his staff and the entire team that knows money doesn't grow on trees. You got to try to provide the best educational experience at a reasonable cost. Thank you.
Fair budget increases. Inflation has definitely been a factor lately, everybody. Anybody who's bought eggs, good heavens, right? And so there is the reality of prices going up. We have state caps on increases, but we also had the New York State Comptroller here in recent years, right, saying you're over collecting as a district. And so I think we do need to be cautious of that too. As a taxpayer, I would love once in a while to have a 0% increase. Wouldn't that be nice? Anybody all in favor? Say aye, right? And if it's possible to do, sometimes it's possible to do, sometimes it's not. Certainly with the contracts, or even as Mark was mentioning, right, those are realities that you sign into an agreement. Those are the increases that are there. But I think that we owe it, I think, to our taxpayers within the district to be the very best fiscal stewards we can. Just because the cap is here and we squeak underneath of it, is that enough? I think that requires good diligence and good vigilance of how do we spend the money for the district. That'll work. Thank you.
I'm going to say something that's probably unpopular. Budgets are never going to go down. It's always going to go up. Our job as a school system is to supply the most robust education and amount of services that we can without bankrupting everybody. And over the past few years, as Marcus said, we've come back with a balanced budget and continue to maintain levels and even add more robust education. That is the goal of the district. Fair is a relative term. I think that as long as there's a budget, it's not going to go down. It's going to go up a little bit, but I think we're doing a good job. And I think that we are constrained, as Mark says, by state mandates and federal funding and all of those things. But in the end, we are underneath the budget cap and we are still maintaining high level of services. And that is the key.
Okay. All right. Good answers. Thank you all for your responses to the questions, and thank you to all your community for such interesting questions. So we'll begin with the closing statements. Christina, we're going to start with you, and you have 3 minutes, and then Stuart, and we'll go back this way around the table. So go ahead, Christina.
Thank you. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters and PTSA Council and to our community and our board friends for being here tonight and for your thoughtful questions and engagement. So over the past 3 years, I've had the privilege of hearing directly from students, teachers, and parents who've come forward with concerns, whether about school start times, mental health issues, special education services, or academic support. And what's been most meaningful is seeing how those concerns can lead to real positive change when we take the time to listen, collaborate, and act. Whether it's adjusting a policy, reevaluating a building need, adding additional supports, or simply validating a student's experience, those moments remind me of why this work matters to me so deeply. I've helped shape policies, set priorities through thoughtful budgeting, supported the updated code of conduct, and championed the promotion of restorative practices in our schools. These experiences have strengthened my ability to be an effective communicator, a collaborative leader, and a board member who shows up with intention and truly cares. If reelected, I will continue to be a caring advocate, committed to encouraging new initiatives, fostering meaningful dialogue, and doing what's best for all students, staff, and families. I want every stakeholder to feel confident that their voice not only matters, but also leads to real progress. My goal is to help build a district culture where trust and action go hand in hand. I'm an active listener, a lifelong learner, and someone who cares deeply about our schools. It would be an honor to serve again. I respectfully ask for your vote on Tuesday, May 20th, ballot line 5A, and please don't forget to vote for the budget as well. And that concludes my closing statement, but I have a little bit more time, so I just want to add to my closing statement because we were talking about the budget. But these beautiful handouts that are delivered to our community gives detailed information of our cost projections, what is increasing, and what those various line items stand for. So I encourage you when they come in the mail to read them, and they really give a good depiction of what we are asking for your vote on the budget line. Thank you.
I again want to thank the organizations that have put on this debate and the community members for coming and listening. I've had the privilege of serving on the Williamsville Board of Education for the past 3 years. That experience has given me a clear understanding of the district's strengths, as well as the areas that we must and can do better. I bring consistency, knowledge, and a strong drive to continue building a district where every student, teacher, and family feels supported and empowered. In the end, education is a three-way street between students, parents, and teachers. The job of the Board of Education is to set policy and get the heck out of the way and let the teachers and students achieve what they can do. And I think that we've done that over the past 3 years, and I hope to be able to continue that. And I encourage you to vote line 4A and for the budget. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Your questions and the two-way dialogue are valuable. It's important to hear each other and to be heard. The threefold focus of the school board is curriculum, budget, and oversight of the superintendent. I'd like to suggest a few things as we conclude our evening. First, I'd like to see more monthly curriculum topics as a part of the board meeting. Last year, I think the only curriculum focus was approving a few textbooks for AP classes in the fall. Each month, I think it'd be valuable to have some of the curriculum specialists bring 20 or 30-minute presentation about the current state of their subject. While objectivity may be difficult given pressures from New York State or the union, I think it would be good for us to hear how's the curriculum compare with 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago? What's improved? What is diminished? What concerns should parents in the district be aware of? I'd also like listings of each school library of all the books purchased and disposed in the last 5 years. Tax dollars are paying for these books in the libraries. Our librarians are public servants. This transparency is important to see trends of the books, what's hot and what's not. Second, on the budget front, while federal judge has blocked President Trump's April 3rd letter, which ordered an end to DEI programs in both K through 12 education and higher education, and to certify that DEI is not in use in schools, we need to plan for this risk. New York State receives $5.5 billion from the U.S. Department of Education annually, and $3.2 billion directly allocated to the state's education system. New York State aid to our district is about $70 million. That would be a painful loss should that order stand. Thirdly, while our superintendent is a strong advocate of DEI, this is one of the most frequent concerns I heard knocking on doors from you in the district, the morals being taught in the district and boys competing in girls' sports. I think we all agree, and even over the course of tonight, we've talked about how precious each child is, and they should be provided excellent educational opportunities to deepen and equip them in all subjects, math, social studies, music, and English. We need to develop their character, teach the importance of treating others as we would like to be treated. Good manners go a long way in life. In conclusion, I'm concerned that all our board members are endorsed by the Williamsville Teachers Association, and 8 of the 9 are Democrats, and the 9th is not affiliated. This does not seem to be very diverse and should be addressed. I think it would be healthy to have a better balance between conservative and liberal parties. In theory, education is not to be political, but the reality is, I think it is. I ask for your vote. I promise to be a conservative voice supporting traditional values and priorities. I will do my best to keep Williamsville in the top ranks of Metro Buffalo by teaching what is true and good with excellence. Thank you. Go Bills.
Thank you. You know, when I'm asked to sum up my final statements, and I'm given however minutes, I'm always I remind myself of the Gettysburg Address and how that was delivered in less than 2 minutes. So I will not say anything as important as that address, and I will certainly not take as much time. I learned a lot. I've only been on the board for 2 years. I won a special election. The former board member, Teresa Leatherbarrow, passed away, and I was on the ballot for a 2-year term. So I was elected and sworn in the next day. So I hit the ground running. I learned a lot in 2 years. I'm the liaison to Dodge and Casey Elementary. I'm on the communication committee. We evaluate the effectiveness of district's communications and the various platforms that we use. I'm on the audit committee. I'm on the Erie County Association of School Boards Legislative Committee. You know, this school district is a $250 million budget, hundreds of employees, multiple facilities, after-school extracurricular activities that reach students at just about every grade and interest level. It takes experience to keep this train running. Okay, now I am probably going to go off script, but I'm proud to be endorsed by the Williamsville Teacher Association. I think every candidate here has asked for that endorsement at one time or another. And no matter who endorses you, they're not endorsing puppets. They're endorsing you based on your credibility as a public servant. So I'm honored to have that endorsement. And it doesn't mean that, it's going to be whatever the teachers want. It just means that they believe in you to make a decision and to give them an answer based on, not on bias or any animosity. It's just what's best for the students in the district. So I am on line 2A, because I had to look at my card to remember. So, you have 3 votes for school board, and please consider me for one of them, and please vote yes on the budget. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the district tonight. I believe that although our district is wonderful, there's always room for growth and improvement. I look forward to building a healthy relationship with the administrators, teachers, and parents of the district. I look forward to the opportunity to dedicate myself to being a champion for our amazing students of this wonderful district. And I look forward to the opportunity to help make our thriving district even better. And I ask for your vote on May 20th. Thank you.
Well, thank you all and thank you for turning to the league for help with this evening's candidate forum. Let's show the candidates that we appreciate their participation this evening with a round of applause. Do we have people? Yeah. Of course, as they reminded you, you'll all remember to vote on the school board election on Tuesday, May 20th from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Williamsville North High School, and urge others to do the same. Tonight's candidate form may be viewed on the school's district website. And I also urge you to remember to vote in our local elections. Primaries are on June 24th this year, and we have early voting from June 14th to the 22nd for the primaries. And, okay. I don't know what all this means, but you guys don't really have a primary, I guess. The only primary for voters in the town of Amherst is for town justice on the conservative line of the ballot. So only conservatives can vote in the primary. And the general election is November 4th with early voting from October 24th through November 2nd. And I forgot it wasn't in the city, so there's no big thing going on. So thank you all very much. And I guess we're closed.
Thank you.
Good job, everyone.
Yeah.